Hello and welcome to another update video about Ethereum. Well, not too much changed here. If we take it from the zoomed out perspective, this could still be a 1-2-1-2 setup with further continuation to the upside. Market has just been moving sideways here. Yesterday it made one more attempt to push here out of the range. That so far failed. Maybe it will get it done today. We'll see. Currently the market is a bit in the red. It's Friday, sort of end of the week. Let's see. Last few times I think we had some nice volatility on the Friday, late on the Friday, but let's see. But either way, these scenarios aren't changed. We still have our significant wave 2 low in place here on the 10th of March. That so far hasn't been violated. Since then the market rallied in an impulse. Here in a wave 1, we came down in 3 waves into a wave 2. That support area we had on the chart back then did hold. So it set us up for further continuation in a possible third wave. That's sort of what we are looking at the moment. Third wave with a target of around here $2,280, just roughly. That's sort of as a guide where this should eventually land if we get the 5 waves in the third wave. Within that third wave, we could have done now, or maybe still are working here on a 1-2 setup. Certainly price action still looks corrective. An attempt to break out of the range failed yesterday. We're going to zoom in, take a look at that in a minute. But overall, the scenario hasn't changed. As long as the 1662 level here is holding, generally the focus can be on higher. And bear in mind, those corrective structures can always morph into something else. You get headwinds if you try to trade corrections. Then again, you never really know when they're finished until after the breakout. So that's why I like to focus on these fib levels, because they tell us very clearly the key invalidation points and so on. The points where we move from one scenario into another one. But so far, the 1662 level did hold. And if we break the 1662 level, which is here the 78.6 retrace, I have to basically get rid of the idea of a 1-2-1-2 setup. We then have to take into consideration a slightly different scenario where we would say that all of this was wave 1 and we're now working on something like a larger ABC structure. There are different scenarios for a wave 2. That's why I've got the alternative wave 2 here. And again, there are different ways of counting this corrective structure, but it just focus. Best is sometimes just to focus on the fib levels, because the risk is if you try to really put too much brain power into trying to understand the lower degree waves in a corrective structure, you will be disappointed eventually, because corrections can always morph into larger corrections. So for example, I did explain that yesterday. You can easily get an ABC, which then suddenly becomes a WXY, and maybe even something more complex, maybe even triangle. A lot of people don't understand that. So you need to understand these counts as roadmaps, not as static, given ways the path needs to go or the chart needs to follow, right? They are dynamic, as for example, a trend line would be dynamic as well. But these waves allow us to calculate targets. Now you need to understand, as long as we are in a correction, for example, in a wave 2 and we don't have a confirmed breakout, the risk is always you get headwinds, and especially with corrective waves, you can get a lot of up and down, because the market basically is still consolidating, hasn't fully made up its mind yet, tries to make a lot of things at once. You see these ups and downs, and that's often what happens in a correction. But either way, either 1662 holds in this 1-2-1-2 setup that should set us up for higher, or if we drop into the yellow support region, key level is 1472 for a deeper wave 2. That so far hasn't changed. Let's dive into the lower time frame. Here maybe the 15-minute chart. We talked yesterday about, we had a possible breakout, but that is impossible to confirm the breakout until we get a sustained break above previous highs. Now we didn't get that. 1847 that would have been. It basically failed here at resistance. Now, okay, that could have been a 1, 2, 3, but the need was to hold 1805. Now it didn't do that. That's why I cannot really count this as a 5-wave structure anymore, because here as a wave 4, you need to hold the 50% retracement. Otherwise it's getting difficult. Now it has so far avoided an overlap with wave 1. So strictly speaking, you could still call it an impulse, but it's not a reliable impulse. I don't normally count it a wave 4 anymore because so far, again, it has avoided an overlap with wave 1. If we apply the rules of Elliott Wave really strictly, you would say only below 1763 the pattern gets invalidated. Okay. Now, saying that, it could still be a diagonal which is forming here. So if we now if we hold 1747, this could still be a diagonal which will give us a fifth wave above the wave 3 high, which is at 1859. However, it has become less reliable. So keep your focus on that swing low here, 1747, the wave 2 low. If that gets violated, then we certainly only had 3 waves up. Even now, I would certainly not count that personally as an impulse anymore. It sort of has failed unless we count the 1-2-1-2 setup. That's of course always possible. But then again, you can put so much brain power in trying to understand the lower degree waves. It often doesn't make sense. I can show you 10 counts here which would apply. Therefore, as I often say, it is the pivot points that are so important. Here we came back into our support area, reacted a few times to it, and these are the areas which are relevant. And as long as we're holding 1662, we can focus on higher. Certainly the failure of it, holding a reliable wave 4 has increased the probabilities again of a breakdown, so that it was basically just a bull trap. But eventually the fib levels are what we should be focused on in terms of which scenario we are in. And it doesn't make sense to try to trade every single wave. Most likely this will not be successful, especially in a correction. But yeah, let's see if we can work our way up from here eventually. At the moment, it's coming down, but it's looking like a corrective move down so far. Now that can change very quickly. But keep in mind that 1662 level. Certainly important support expected at 1756, 1729, 1701 anyway with these fibs. And we need a sustained breakout above 1847 to really have, put more emphasis on the idea that we are already in a third wave. But all of this looks still very messy and corrective. Okay, and that's my update about Ethereum. I hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.